Great. Okay, that will be helpful for the conference organizers. So our two speakers today are Bettina Benzinger, please wave, Bettina, and Channa van der Brug. And they are both in Berlin, as you can see by this beautiful setting in their background that only Germany can produce. And they asked that I introduce this just by mentioning that I was recently in Graz, Austria, which is having a partnership with several universities. It has a partnership with, for example, Granada, which allows people to study there for a term. It has partnerships with other universities in Lithuania, in Italy, and beyond. And so there are interesting questions of how to share credits, how to align the laws that allow for degree earning in different countries, how to work across cultures, and so forth. And so you may have experienced something that yourself, or you may be interested in working across universities. So I'll pass it over now to Bettina and Channa so that they can share their expertise. And for those of you who wish to read along, you may find closed caption option on the bottom of your screen so you can check your options there. But we will get started and we will be going until 2:15. So I pass it over to you and let's enjoy.
Thank you very much. Let's just check. My audio should be working. Let's just check if the screen sharing also works. So our presentation, Interoperability Unlocked, the power of powering the future of joint campuses in European higher education. It has 4 parts. So let me share the first slide. First, I'll talk a bit about who are we and what is the European Digital Education Hub. And also what are European university alliances and what does interoperability actually mean for them with regards to the challenges they face in supporting a smooth learner journey. And then Bettina will explain a bit about the project that we've done together and share also a little bit behind the scenes, like how we've been working together and what the outcomes of our work are, which are implementation guidelines for higher education interoperability. Now, let's start with a very brief look at the past. So the Erasmus program, I'm looking at 2 screens, apologies by the way. So the Erasmus program, which began in 1987, it was of course a pioneer of European cooperation in higher education. And in 1997, it followed up with Erasmus for Staff, and of course an exchange program for work. And then also this program developed further for internships abroad. And eventually this development laid the foundations for what Macron discussed in his 2017 Sorbonne speech, the foundations for today's European University Alliances. So what started with paper and then email, it has developed further and further. So there are now many university alliances in Europe, including more than 50 German ones, but I think overall over 60 in Europe. And these alliances have set themselves very ambitious targets with regards to collaboration, and also, for instance, a student mobility rate of 50%. So this brings with it challenges in the areas of data management. And well, I can use these to give you an idea of what we talk about. So what is the European Digital Education Hub? This is part of the Digital Education Action Plan that Europe has that runs until 2027. And its purpose is to promote cooperation and exchange in digital education. So not just higher education, but all areas of digital education. And it has a political background to make European digital education more aligned, and also to create a space for all citizens interested in it to become involved. So this is happening on the hub, and we'll share a link to the hub so that you can also check out what kind of conversations are there and connect with the more than 5,000 people from across Europe. Now, what are the European University Alliances? As Brian mentioned, Graz has alliances. Maybe it's part of a European alliance or it has other partners, as do many other European universities. So these European alliances, though, they're a special project from the Commission, and they're the main plan for universities that are existing at the moment. It's an initiative that's funded by Erasmus+, and 1.1 billion euros has been allocated to this initiative. So each alliance can get up to 14.4 billion euros over a 4-year time frame to collaborate. And the idea is, of course, to create long-term partnerships between institutions. So this should make universities more competitive, perhaps, but also foster a sense of like European identity across participating institutions for their learners. And through it, it means that a student can earn a degree in multiple European countries. So it broadens their academic and cultural experiences, and that's also part of this initiative. So, sorry, for it, interoperability is essential for this to be able to happen. So transnational university alliances, are a key initiative for Europe. So, moving to what is interoperability, the next part in this presentation. So let's take a look at what interoperability means within an alliance, but actually also in a university. So I'll show you a little bit of how a university internally needs to work together to make a student's learning journey possible. You'll see here on the slide, this graphic is created by Surf and NPulse. You can download it later. It's a very nice graphic. At the center of this visual, you'll see the student looking for personal and professional development and going through various phases in an education journey. So we can zoom in on specific parts of the journey. And yeah, it's a virtual infrastructure actually that this journey is a part of. And let's see, this ecosystem of a university consists of several layers. At the top layer, the user level, it's where students are, where lecturers are. They all work with their devices. They all want to have a smooth access. And then if you look under that, it means that there are administrators who have to work in the back end to make sure that courses, for instance, are included and the course materials are included in university systems. And under that, IT is working to manage identities, access, databases. And of course, right here at the bottom, the bit that Bettina and I are most excited about, you can say they must be able to exchange data and use certain standards together. So only in this way, you can see the different levels of the university that need to be able to automatically exchange data and work together. And also these standards that are used, how do these align with standards and data that are used and exchanged at partner universities? This is very important for international students or those studying at European university alliances to have smooth access to different virtual campuses. Now, see, this is no easy feat. And there are many challenges, as we know, and as the European Commission knows, that universities and especially European higher education institutions that are part of alliances are facing at the moment. So Bettina, can you tell us a little bit more about these challenges and how, based on these challenges, the European higher education framework has been developed?
Sure. So let me move over the screen a little bit and take over the presentation. Now, in our project, we have started out with 8 different use cases, and Hannah has already shown you the journey of a learner, and these use cases are basically along the learner's journey. So you see the first 4 here. You see we're starting with the discovery of a learning opportunity. So this is like the first phase of a learner, when a learner wants to find out, well, what does this university actually offer for me? Is there something of interest for me? Next, a learner, a future learner, might decide to apply for a course of studies at a university. And at that particular point, he or she is interested in getting their previous learnings recognized. So then we move further into the learner's journey. Finally, our use cases 3, 4, and I'm moving over to the next slide, also 5, they are really part of the study phase at a university, where you want to share resources. Teachers are interested in what are the data of my students, for instance. So we take a look in these use cases from different perspectives, as you see. Then use case number 6, earning credential. Well, that is what students are working towards and looking to earn when they are leaving the university or once they are done with their class or their course. And finally, use cases 7 and 8, user identity and institutional identity, are more like foundational and underlying use cases. So this is a very quick run through of the use cases we looked at. And now, how does all of this come together? So these are our outputs that we provided to the European Commission earlier this year. So in the center, you see we were working on a European higher education interoperability framework. It's a massive title, but what actually is behind? And this is what you see around the circle. So I would say that the core of it really is what you see on the left-hand side, the reference architecture. This basically lays out where do we want to head, what is the target that universities would need to implement in order for interoperability to come to life and to make it work. Now, in order to arrive at this reference architecture, we started with an inventory mapping. So we were working closely with more than 40 of the European University Alliances, and we looked at what is the current status quo, what are the tools they're working with, what are the standards they're using, where are they, where are they? Goodness, I'm so sorry. Where are gaps at the moment, and what would they actually need to have implemented? So this was mapping the status quo. And this, in the end, led us to describe the current landscape of interoperability across European universities, and it also helped us to lay out the reference architecture. Now, this really is, I would say, the core of the framework, but then we also need to think about, well, we get the framework out there, we need to get it implemented, right? So this is why the framework comes accompanied with what we call implementation guidelines or implementation resources. This really is a hands-on package, which is designed to help universities implement the architecture and guide them on their way towards interoperability. And now, these elements that I have described so far are really focused on the university context, on the context of higher education institutions. But as we all know, higher education doesn't happen in a vacuum. There's a policy sphere around, there's decision making, there's politics around it. So this is why, in addition to the implementation resources, we have a governance model for higher education interoperability. And this governance model puts together a group of stakeholders, of different stakeholder organizations who are looking more from a strategic angle. What does it take going forward from a policy-making perspective in order for the interoperability framework to become fruitful and to have a sustainability and a long-lasting life? Now, this is, in a nutshell, the interoperability framework. And now let me take you through this journey a little more, because right now I am aware it is very abstract if you have not been with us on this journey for the past 1.5 years. So it all comes together in what we call the alliance journey of collaboration. And this journey, let me zoom in a little bit more, it guides alliances through a typical journey of how to make interoperability work. And now I would like to take you through the individual steps to give you even more of a feeling of how the interoperability framework can be applied. So we're starting out the journey looking at the impact of an alliance and the actors that are involved. So in the beginning, an alliance starts out signing a framework agreement. This is when they're starting to try to understand what is the added value of an alliance. Why actually are we doing this? So they're trying to make the case for the impact the alliance wants to make. And you see, we're basing ourselves here on HERM, the Higher Education Reference Model. So our framework is not just put out there, but we're really trying to connect to the resources from the community, from the expert community that are already out there to make the framework even more valuable. Next, we have provided some basic documents that are meant to help alliances to figure out a work plan for themselves and to really help them set up the organizational structures, identify the actors of relevance. So this is getting the basic setup right, I would call it. And now we're moving into the nitty-gritty and the real proper things of interoperability. So once you are out there in the landscape of interoperability, you first would want to understand, what does this landscape look like? How are other alliances cooperating at the moment? What is important? What do I need to understand? And which tools are the most prominent ones, for instance? Which practices are really popular? What are good practices? So this is where our synthesis report comes into play. It gives an overview of the current interoperability landscape. Now, once alliances or universities have an understanding of this landscape, they might want to ask themselves, so where do I stand in this landscape? How well am I already doing? And where do I have potential for improvement? So therefore, we have created a self-assessment tool that gives alliances the possibility to self-assess them against certain criteria for our 8 use cases that I have shown you before, in order to better understand, well, how are they already doing with regards to these use cases. And the self-assessment tool, it's based on Excel, and it gives alliances and universities these nice, type of Excel spider graphics that you might know. This is why within our consortium and within the expert group, this tool really got named the spider tool. So that's the unofficial name I'm sharing with you now. Once an alliance knows where are their strengths and where are their weaknesses, where they can improve, they need to get a little more clarity on what is actually the objective I want to work towards and what are the gaps. So from there, they will dive into the reference architecture to even better understand the components that are required for interoperability for the 8 use cases. Now, once we have an understanding of, okay, this is where I am at, and this is where I want to go to, the question I need to ask myself is, how on earth am I going to make this work? So this is the point in time when an alliance starts looking at solutions and standards that actually can make interoperability work. And previously, you might remember, I've mentioned that we worked closely with more than 40 of the alliances to actually get a better understanding of what is their status quo, what are the tools they're using, what are the standards they're applying. So this we put together in a repository of different standards and tools that alliances can leverage here. And it's called the mapping report and the framework report here. And finally, once you have an understanding of where do I come from, where do I want to go, and how do I make it work, you might need some hands-on guidance to actually get things implemented and make interoperability become reality. Now, this is when our implementation resources package comes into play. And this package gives very hands-on tools, like let it be a communications package for one of the use cases, or some guidelines to organize a workshop for another one of their use cases. So we're really trying to take it to the nitty-gritty detail level here. And with this, we hope that we equip alliances good on their way to interoperability. The documents that I have mentioned and the resources that I have explained to you, they are currently in publication with the European Commission's Publication Office as we speak. To be honest, we were hoping they would already be published by the time we're giving this talk. It's a little delayed now, but still, you might want to save this link. It should be available anytime soon.
Yeah. And just to reiterate, this was a project under the umbrella of the European Digital Education Hub, which I mentioned at the beginning. And under this hub, we were working together with a consortium of international partners. So in my role with Stifterverband, I've been part of it. And Bettina for Deloitte was also one of the other consortium partners, alongside, for instance, DAAD Germany, DAAD as one of the lead partners. But the European Commission itself has a very high interest in this project, and we have been closely working together with them because it's in their aim to have this bottom-up initiative for support of the alliances themselves. So it's an initiative of the European Commission, really.
Okay.
And you can already find the materials that Bettina talked about at the hub. It's a Teams environment, so anyone can register for the hub, and yeah, just let us know if you would like to access the materials early on, or we're open for questions.
Yeah, if you want to get a sneak preview of the materials, feel free to register. You also see here the consortium members once again that Hannah mentioned, and yeah, I think we still have some like 7 minutes left or so for questions.